Hey guys, RanterInShades here, exercise my first to memorize vlog style, and this is something I've been thinking a good bit about for the past week or so. A lot of this stemmed from the recent activity from one of my favorite YouTubers of all time, Jared Dines. If you don't know who Jared Dines is, he's a musician that specializes in making comedy slash music slash metal content, and he also has his own projects with the two bands he's a part of, Dissimulator, which is a deathcore band he is the vocalist in, and Rest Repose, which is an alternative metal band he's a part of, along with another YouTuber I follow, Ryan Fluff Bruce, which he plays drums in.
Josh, are you excited to go on tour? Josh! Josh!
I've been following his channel for about 2 years. His videos are really entertaining and interesting, and he also basically introduced me to the music slash comedy community, as I like to call it, which includes people like Rob Scallon, Fluff, Steve Terraberry, 10 Second Songs, Davey504, Glenn Fricker of Spectre Sound Studios, and others. Anyway, I should give you some backstory before the main topic of this video is introduced. But before I do so, let me make it clear that this isn't a video bashing Jared, just so we're clear on that. That's not the point of this video. I'm still a fan, I'll always be a fan, I don't hate him, so let's get started. For the past month, Jared has been on hiatus from YouTube. He was pretty much uploading daily, which I've talked about in a video before, and he just became mentally drained. It's a classic burnout story that most other YouTubers have experienced at some point in time, especially when they upload daily or have a really rigorous upload schedule. Well, about 2 weeks ago, he made his triumphant return with a music video for his song Demogorgon from his upcoming EP called The Dark, which from the sound of it is going to be a gent deathcore thing. I was really excited because, apart from hearing he was coming out with an EP of original material, I missed seeing his content. So what I like to do to ensure that I can have a release from a band or artist I feel strongly about in my collection is pre-order the album or EP, usually on iTunes or Bandcamp, but since there wasn't a pre-order option on either iTunes or Bandcamp, I had to pre-order on Jared's merch site, and since I was early enough to the pre-order, my copy is going to be signed. So I was excited about that as well. But then I noticed a week later that he put out another song from the EP on his channel, Afraid to Die, and then 3 days later, another song, Death Sentence. That's when I started thinking about the subject of this video today, and as I was writing the script, he now has a lyric video up for another song, The Psycho. Now, an EP, which stands for Extended Play, is basically median length between a single and a full-length album. Generally, EPs are between 3 and 7 songs, so it's not quite the length of an album. It's more like a mini album. You'd be surprised at how many people I've actually had to explain that to. Mostly adults, or people that just don't really follow music. So given that that's the typical length of an EP, and there are now 4 songs from Jared's EP released as singles, what else is there? If you look at the description of the Psycho video, it says, digital copies of the EP will be available in a few days. One last music video for this EP is coming on Monday. I have a music video on Monday for the last song. So it sounds like he's literally putting his whole EP on YouTube. So then what's the point of even listening to the damn thing I pre-ordered if I'll have already heard everything? He's also not being clear when the official release of this EP is. We saw in the description that he said digital copies would be available in a few days. And on his merch site it said, please allow 2 to 3 weeks after the 23rd to receive your order, which I unfortunately don't have a screenshot of since the pre-order is now up. So I don't even know when I'm supposed to get my copy. And when I do get my copy, will I have just heard everything already on YouTube? So like I said a little bit ago, is there even a point in listening to the EP front to back like I like doing when I get new music, when I'll have heard everything before? This to me sounds like something better suited for the people who donate to his Patreon. He could give those people early access to the songs while having the Demogorgon music video out, which lets people know that they can order their copies of the EP. So if you're going to say this is him being really, really generous to his fans, then yeah, I get that and I appreciate that, but it still doesn't strike me as at all logical. So if all the songs on this EP are singleized, then all I'm really gonna do when I get my copy is load the CD in my computer and add the tracks to my giant as shit collection. And the only times I can see myself listening to the songs are if I'm doing so individually, or if it's a day in the future where I feel like listening to deathcore and play the whole EP then. It's not like what I like doing when I get new music, which is play the album start to finish when everything's new and fresh to me, even if I've heard any of the singles prior to the release, which I usually don't listen to the singles or watch the music videos because of that desire for everything to be new and fresh when I listen to the full product for the first time. So you might be thinking about now, well, Shades, if you want everything to sound fresh on first listen when you get your copy, why didn't you just not watch any of the videos that Jared put up? And I gave the answer to that question earlier. Because I missed seeing content from him. He was on hiatus for a month, and I wanted to see new videos from him. So why should I just not watch new content from one of my favorite YouTubers other than the two other videos he put out? One being an update video, and the other being a comment reading video. In this instance, it really doesn't make sense to just ignore the content. I also get that Jared needs to put out content on his channel as YouTube is his main source of income, and since he's trying to get back into the swing of things, likely by filming and editing multiple videos for both his main channel and the Dicky Dines Show, which is his side channel based around random fun and games with his friend Austin Dickey, and scheduling their uploads, he's supplementing his main channel content with material related to his EP. I get that, but at the same time, why? And this of course got me thinking further, and this is what the point of this video is. Is singleizing releases a regular music industry practice with bands? I say no. But even if there are people that do singlize their material, it doesn't make any sense why they would do that. It doesn't really give the fans incentive to buy digital or physical copies unless there's someone like me who collects music. But let me delve further into why I don't think singlizing an album or EP is a regular industry practice. And the example I'm going to use is of course Alter Bridge. They have a new album coming out in a couple weeks called The Last Hero, and I'm really fucking pumped for it. So I of course pre-ordered it on iTunes, and what iTunes does these days is add the singles to your iTunes library if you pre-ordered once they're available. And what I do then is add the singles to a playlist I have called Pre-Order Singles. And like I said before, I wait to listen to the singles until I have the entire album. Alter Bridge's first single from The Last Hero, called Show Me a Leader, came out on July 26th of this year, and as you can see under the date added column, that's not when I made the pre-order. I made it on August 14th when I had more money in my iTunes account, which is why it says that date there. Their next single, My Champion, came out on September 7th, over a month after the first single. And their most recent single, Poison in Your Veins, came out yesterday on the 23rd as I'm filming this video, about 2 weeks later. And with the album officially being released on October 7th, 2 weeks from then, and 2 days after I turned 23, I think this is it as far as singles from the album go, unless their label decides to release 1 or 2 more singles for radio purposes after the album drops. This pattern of releasing singles makes much more sense than just releasing all the singles within 2 weeks' time, and it makes much more sense than having the entirety of the release all be singles. Labels don't really do that unless the album is cranking hit after hit after hit, emphasis on the word hit. Such was the case with Michael Jackson's Thriller. One reason Thriller is so famous, apart from being the biggest selling album of all time, is because pretty much all the songs on the album, with the exception of Baby Be Mine and The Lady in My Life, were not only all released as singles, but they were also legitimate hits. Thriller was released November 30th, 1982, and the first single, The Girl Is Mine, Jackson's duet with Paul McCartney, was released a month and a half before the album's release, and in that time it more than likely got a great deal of radio play as well as coverage on MTV back when they were actually a music television network and Lacey Green was nowhere to be seen there. Of course, the label probably decided to have The Girl Is Mine be the debut single, since having Paul McCartney attached to the song would ensure that the song would get play and not fly under the radar. That's why you see a lot of up-and-coming pop acts featuring really popular names on their songs. But like I said, Thriller became a smash hit, and all the singles released from the album became huge hits for Michael Jackson. But if we look at a timeline of events, we can see that it wasn't Epic Records or Michael Jackson's intention to singlize the entire album. Let's look at that timeline of events. October 18th, 1982, The Girl Is Mine comes out, goes to number 2 in the US. November 30th, 1982, Thriller is officially released. January 4th, 1983, Billie Jean comes out, goes to number 1 in the US, staying there for 7 weeks only to be dethroned by Come On Eileen by Dexy's Midnight Runners. February 14th, 1983, Beat It, Michael Jackson's best song in my opinion, comes out, also going to number 1 in the US, staying there for 3 weeks only to be dethroned by Let's Dance by David Bowie. May 8th, 1983, Wanna Be Startin' Something comes out, goes to number 5 in the US. July 3rd, 1983, Human Nature comes out, goes to number 7 in the US. September 19th, 1983, PYT, Pretty Young Thing, comes out, goes to number 10 in the US. And January 23rd, 1984, Thriller the Song comes out, goes to number 4 in the US, largely having to do with its legendary music video. So these singles are all spread out pretty evenly by a couple months, give or take. And Epic Records figured that, apart from keeping Michael Jackson's name out there, they thought, this song's a huge hit on the radio and MTV. We should release another single so that we we can score another hit. And the cycle kept continuing for pretty much all the rest of the singles from the album, and they were being tactful about it. They weren't just shoving them out week after week. But Shades, Thriller was from the 80s. Things were different back then. Talk about a recent pop album. Okay, let's look at Taylor Swift's 1989, because I love being unbiased. August 18th, 2014, Shake It Off comes out, goes to number 1 in the US, staying there for 2 weeks only to be dethroned by All About That Bass by Meghan Trainor.
Ugh.
October 25th, 2014, 1989 is officially released. November 10th, 2014, Blank Space comes out, goes to number 1 in the US, staying there for 7 weeks, only to be dethroned by Uptown Funk by Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars.
Yes, sir!
February 9th, 2015, Style comes out, goes to number 6 in the US. May 17th, 2015, Bad Blood comes out, goes to number 1 in the US, staying there for 1 week, only to be dethroned, like Uptown Funk, by See You Again by Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth.
Ugh.
August 31st, 2015, Wildest Dreams comes out, goes to number 5 in the US. February 5th, 2016, Out of the Woods comes out, goes to number 18 in the US. And February 23rd, 2016, New Romantics comes out, goes to number 46 in the US. So the timing is really no different at all with Taylor Swift than it is with Michael Jackson. And there wasn't any shoving out there either. It kind of looks like that's what's happening towards the end with the 2 singles in February, but I look at that as her label wanted to keep her name out there since 1989 was over a year old at that time. They wanted to ensure that people were still buying the album and keeping the album relevant. Again, not very different from what happened with the singles from Thriller. And let's take it a step further and talk about an EP. One recent popular EP I can think of would be Hell the Sequel by Bad Meets Evil, the duo project of Eminem and Royce da 5'9". This EP came out June 14th, 2011. There were 9 tracks on the EP, and only 2 of them were singles. These would be Fastlane, which came out May 3rd, 2011, a month and a half before the EP dropped, going to number 32 in the US, and Lighters, featuring Bruno Mars. There's that popular artist attachment trend again. Which came out July 5th, 2011, about half a month after the EP dropped, going to number 4 in the US. So Shady Records were being tactful as well and not singleizing that whole thing. So that leads me to come to the conclusion that record labels will only singlize a release like what Epic did with Thriller and Big Machine did with 1989 if all the songs are becoming hits. And going back to Ultra Bridge, while the singles Napalm Records are putting out might not be huge pop radio MTV hits, they too are being tactful with the release of the singles. First single comes out little over 2 months before the album drops, second single comes out about a month later, and the third single comes out a couple weeks before the album's official release. They're not shoving them out either, nor are they singleizing the entire album. I can't imagine them doing that unless these singles are receiving acclaim equivalent to the singles from Thriller or 1989. So let's bring this back to Jared Dines. I'm sure a number of you are thinking I'm comparing apples to oranges given that A, Jared isn't an alternative metal / mainstream rock act, nor is he a pop act or a rap act, and B, he's an independent artist. That's what leads me to the question I was asking earlier in this video. Why would an independent artist singlize an album, or an EP no less? It doesn't make any sense to me. You'd think Jared would have just put the first music video out and left it at that, because it's not like these songs are going viral on YouTube to the point where it would demand more singles from him. Not only can I not name a more mainstream artist that singleizes an EP, but I can't name a single independent artist that singleizes an album or an EP. Why would an independent artist do that? Usually there's just 1 or 2 singles to promote the album or EP, and that's it. And apart from having music videos filmed for said singles, the label will mail or email the release, or just email the singles, since I can't imagine singles getting mailed physically these days, to radio stations and promoters for airtime and publicity. So again, it doesn't make sense for an independent artist with no label backing them to do anything like this. That's all I gotta say about this. I'm still excited about receiving my signed copy of Jared Dines' EP, and I'm looking forward to seeing him make more content. But this was a major head scratcher for me, and I hope I sounded coherent and didn't sound like an idiot. Let me know what you guys think about this. Thank you for watching this video. Take care and have a nice day. I'm Shades, and I'll see you next time. And it's new shirt day. Today, we got I the Mighty. Really amazing progressive rock band that I implore you guys to check out. They're amazing, they're original, they're interesting. They're definitely a band that I can see a lot of people in my audience really loving. Yeah!
Josh!